Hey there folks, Ash here with a very special video. Now, Den of Geek did an interview with Simon Bennet, who is now the showrunner for Power Rangers moving forward in the future, and they got to sit down with him and ask him a few questions about Dino Fury. And basically, the headliner for this article sums it up. The new Power Rangers showrunner discusses what's upcoming for Dino Fury and how COVID-19 impacted production and writing the show for children and adults. So that's going to be some interesting reading, because I haven't read this article yet. It kind of dropped when I was about to go to bed, so I thought I won't read it. I'll go in blind and see what this is about. So I am very curious what this article is going to have in store for it, because we kind of can guess that COVID-19 has impacted the production for Power Rangers Dino Fury, but I'm curious in what way has it halted production, and have they begun production on Dino Fury as of recording this video or reading this interview. So let's go. Back in January, fans of Power Rangers learned that IMDb posts that Simon Bennet, director of many Ninja Steel and Beast Morpher episodes, as well as several new well-known New Zealand dramas, has taken over the reins of EP, executive producer of Hasbro's famed Power Rangers series. He later stated he was the showrunner as well. At the time, the fans were a bit confused, since Chip Lynn, who worked on the show back in the 90s and returned in 2015 for Dino Charge, was the EP. While TV shows have two executive producers, it isn't common for the whole situation to be further muddled by comments from former Power Ranger actor Austin St. John. At a convention appearance, he stated that Judd Lynn was phasing out of his role of the show. Fans were left wondering who was in control of Power Rangers production, and could Simon Bennett's new position mean a new creative era for the show. Thankfully, we were able to clear up many of these questions with Bennett, and who are not... Blah. I need a drink, I'm talking too much. We were able to clear up many of these questions with Bennett, who not only talked with us about how he got into the showrunner of Power Rangers, but his plans for the upcoming season, and how Judd Lynn will be involved with Dino Fury. So Den of Geek asks, What landed you the role of showrunner in Power Rangers? Simon Bennet: Well, I didn't make the decision. I can't exactly say what the reason was, other than I've worked on the director for the show for 4 years, both for Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers. Prior to that, I have a long track record on New Zealand's screen industry, and director and creative producer. I think the powers... I am not in my best reading mood today. I think the powers that maybe probably fought in my particular skill set was right for the role when it came up, and so I was approached. I was shoulder tapped and asked if I might be possibly interesting, and I jumped on the opportunity. Partly because the director, you have limited control on the project you're working on. You are given the scripts and you have 2 weeks to shoot them and bring them into some sort of reality. That is true. I've worked in broadcast television and I've worked in film. But that's the story about my life for another day. Then you have to walk away again because of the post-production, which is long on the show like Power Rangers, and the hands of the executive producers. When Power Rangers is in the hands of the executive producers. Directing is a lot of fun, and I love it, but it's only a small part of the process of making the show like Power Rangers. So I'm kind of polite megalomaniac in a way. The opportunity to have involvement with aspects of the show, from writing through the final visual effects and the sound and mix, is a good way to pass up. Okay, so I think this is... Oh yeah, Den of Geek is bold, and then Bennett is non-bold. For the fans out there who have commented about you directing episodes with lots of fart jokes in there, you have no control over that. You just had the script and you did what you could with it. Bennett laughs. Haha! I had the script and I had to make it work. And you know that's a lot of fun. One of the things you love about Power Rangers is the challenges that every script throws out. How can I possibly make this work is one of the questions. You're given the scripts and you have 8 days to prep. Ooh. Is that a lot in working for Power Rangers? I don't know, but 8 days with planning, I don't know, that's something. I mean, I freak out in broadcast television when I'm given 2 weeks to prep for something. That's my story for another day. When you first read the scripts on day 1 prep, you go, oh my goodness, how on earth are we going to achieve that? A lot of ingenuity in collaboration with clever people in all aspects of the show goes into bringing these things to life and making them happen. Okay, so that's cool. And the dogs are barking. I'm not going to edit that out in post. They've been too noisy today. Okay, so Den of Geek asks, okay, so this was brought up a while ago when someone tweeted at, okay, I'm gonna bring this up. Is it on my Twitter? Okay, yes, someone went on a big rant saying how they don't like Power Rangers and they think Dino Fury is gonna suck because they have opinions about the newer seasons, and then Bennett kind of dropped the bomb saying him and Chip are working very closely on the new season, so I'm glad they were able to use that tweet as a reference, thank goodness. You had mentioned on Twitter that you and Chip Lynn are working very closely together on the development of the new season. Is Chip going to be involved once it starts production? Okay, Bennett says, well, Chip has been in New Zealand Chip has been in New Zealand, as have I, pretty much for the last year or so that we've been developing the new seasons. It's been going backwards and forth to the States until the COVID scenario. He's been going backwards and forth to the States until the COVID scenario has made things increasingly difficult. So Judd Lynn's been going back and forth to the States, or emails been going back and forth. That's interesting. There's been kind of a handover going on. Once we go into production for the next season, Chip will be based in the States and I will be based in New Zealand running the production of the show. Chip will still be working on the show, and he and I are both continuing to work closely with writers on the scripts. Okay, that's very interesting. So Judd Lynn is going to be involved in Power Rangers. I don't know what shape or form, but it looks like he's going to be lending Bennett a hand, which is a good sign, a very good sign indeed. We're going to be writing the new season. We're well writing to the new season. In fact, we pretty much started shooting, finishing. Oh man, this is a big reveal. So, in fact, we pretty much started as soon as much as we finished Beast Morphers. So, as soon as they finished Beast Morphers, they started writing the brand new season. Way back in last May, we began developing the new season. So as far as the scripts for the new seasons go, they're advanced and looking exciting. So I guess that means Dino Fury has been in production since last May, ever since we heard that Austin would be on the show. So as soon as Beast Morphers wrapped up, they began working on Dino Fury, which doesn't surprise me because you wouldn't sit on it too long, and I'm guessing no one could have predicted COVID. So hearing that Dino Fury has the scripts in development and they're working on it is a good sign. Okay, let's read the next question from Den of Geek. Has it always been this way where the scripts are developed so far ahead when you actually shoot, or is that more of current development? Okay, Bennett, what does Bennett say? I think that's the case. It takes a long time and it's not quick to write the scripts. There's a lot of complexities and also the adaptation of the Sentai is tricky because we have to retrofit Power Rangers around an existing Japanese show. And we have to spend quite a lot of time looking at the episodes that exist, particularly the Sentai season we're going to adapt. Stupid dog, stop barking, please. I'm reading here. And we're looking at the world and the Japanese show has created. Like the design and the elements and the range of characters, we have to think about how we are given us might. We have to think about how they have given us might work for the I cannot read. Okay, take 3. Then we have to think about how what they have given us might work for an American audience and what might not work. Okay, that makes sense now. Because there are a couple of differences between Japan and the States, and different level of what works for 2 to 6 year olds, which is our target audience and the cultural expectations. Okay. we have to build a world that mirrors the Sentai has already created, but it's got to be more fascinating and intriguing for our audience to generate potential for the number of episodes we're going to write. Then once the world and the characters are then designed, then we will come up with obviously some of the arcs we run across the season, but strong individual stories, because they are always been a directive for episodes of Power Rangers to work on a standalone basis. There's not a huge opportunity. Okay, this is interesting. There's not a huge appetite for serial threads, although the writers do try to sneak in Easter eggs for people who like to watch them in the sequence of work and what's going to happen and what the next clues are. So that's interesting. There's not a huge appetite for serial threads. So they try to make it episodic with a couple of serial threads here and there. Okay, that's an interesting line, because everyone says Power Rangers is filler, Power Rangers is filler, so hearing that they have a certain amount of episodes to work with and the time they've got, they don't really focus on having a big serialized show, so I guess that makes sense. Okay, here's the next question by Den of Geek. Obviously, the show is made for 2 to 6-year-olds, but there are a lot of adult fans of the show as well. How do you balance making it for kids, that whom it's mainly for, but also knowing there's a bunch of older fans watching it? How do you balance those two audiences, or do you mostly focus on the kids? Okay, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to try and not butcher this answer because I want to read it out. Okay, it's tricky. It's okay, I already fucked up. It's tricky. It is a real challenge. I already fucked up. It's tricky. It really is a challenge because you don't want to neglect the adult fans either, because they're important and a loyal part of the audience for the show. They're a very vocal audience. Oh fuck yeah, they are. Because they make their opinions known loudly and clearly online. Oh fuck, that is a fact. That is a very fact. We've worked on other long-running TV shows, and I think it's true to say that the fandom always holds the earlier episodes with a huge amount of fondness and nostalgia, because it's when they first fell in love with the show, when they were watching it as a kid. It's a bit like the relationship you look back on your honeymoon phase with a huge amount of affection, with rose-tinted spectacles, and I think it's the case with any other long-running TV shows. And you learn to accept that. However, as intentive you might be, whatever the great ideas you think up and how modern exciting you are, you're unlikely to think you're... Dog, shut up. You're unlikely to measure up the golden up memories and a lot of the super fans you actually have there. That's just a given. Having said, you always try and reward the long, loyal, standing audience members with some things that are only going to mean anything to them. They won't mean much to the younger audience since they're only watching their show for the very first time. That's an interesting way of putting it. But it's a juggling act. It always is. The writers here in New Zealand are probably a similar age to the long-running fans of the show themselves, and they love the canon lore. You're always trying to throw in rewards for the people who have been long-running fans of the show. Okay, final question. In terms of Dino Fury, how do you plan to bring Power Rangers that's different from before? Okay, I can't say anything about the new seasons because it's top secret, obviously. I mean, people know about Risolga and the Japanese Sentai we're adapting is Dino themed. In terms of what we intend to bring to the show, well, there's a lot of overlords for someone in my position. I don't carte blanche to be able to say, okay, let's make the show unique and different and my vision. That's not how television works. It's a very collaborative medium, and there's a lot of people who have input into the tone and what the show is. And I certainly wouldn't go as wanting to reinvent the wheel or rock the boat. Okay, that's a very interesting way of putting it for the final question, where people are saying, hey, you're going to put your own spin on the show? And Simon's like, I can't really do that because I don't want to reinvent the wheel of Power Rangers or rock the boat, because that's sort of going to play in the formula that Power Rangers has been doing for a very long time. Like, he could if he wanted to, but he can't, because even though he's the executive producer, there is a higher food chain than him in the TV film industry menu, where you'll have Hasbro who are higher up than him, and then people who are higher up than Hasbro and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone's higher up than Hasbro, but I understand what he's saying. Like, you want to do this, but you can't do this. So overall, I think this was a very, very interesting interview they did with Simon. I mean, he had a lot to say, and some very, very interesting questions. Now, if you want to read the interview for yourself, I'll put a link for it in the description down below. I do apologize if my reading butchered most of these questions, because, hey, it's been a while since I've done some long-term reading with this interview. A bit of background noise that I'll probably edit around here and there, but oh well, it is what it is, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and like I said, I'll put a link in the description down below if you want to check out this interview for yourself. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.